Decision Diaries.
Welcome to Decision Diaries. Today on Decision Diaries, I am very excited. This is a subject I am very much interested in, and it is the topic of deciding to create an adventure company, but not just an adventure tour company, but an adventure tour company that specializes in finding shark's teeth. Oh, so exciting. So, first of all, I'd just like to say we are going to put a link to this tour on our website up on decisiondiaries.com. And so if you're in Florida and you're looking for shark's teeth, you are about to hear from a shark tooth expert. So let me welcome my guests, Kim Gasper. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did.
All right. Well, welcome. It is so great to have you here. It was great to run into you in Fort Clinch, which is one of the places where you give these tours. And, you know, as always on Decision Diaries, I am sure that you just didn't wake up as a child and think, I'm going to have an adventure company that looks for shark's teeth. So tell us about when you first decided, which sounds like it was about 14 years ago, to create this tour company experience.
Well, there are many facets of Kim, just let me say that. And before that, I was a substitute teacher. I ran a learning camp out of my home before I became a nurse. I am a nationally certified cancer nurse, and I worked with cancer patients for many years before I decided to do this. But I think I'm kind of a teacher at heart because I've always been a very curious learner. And if you're a learner, you're usually a teacher. And so
yes, absolutely.
I taught kids for many, many years. And when I came here, I was so fascinated. We came here as kids. My husband and I came here with our Girl Scout troops, our Boy Scout troops. We came here as teenagers. And when we decided to move toward retirement or push toward retirement, we decided we wanted to live here. And our families have always been, especially from Florida, fossil people. If you live in Florida and you know a history of Florida, you're a fossil person. Because Florida used to be underwater. And as the fossil fuels built up, embedded in phosphate and things, it kind of lifted Florida up out of the water. But we've always found them here. We've always collected them as kids. It was always a fun.
What beach did you travel to when you say you found, if you had to think back to your first shark's tooth that you found, what beach was it on in Florida?
It was probably Jacksonville Beach. And we used to go to a place called the North Jetties, Fort George, and the Talbots, the big and small Talbot Islands. So we would always go to those places. We would come here for a special occasion because it was a little bit further out. There was always competition, who found the most, who found the biggest. And
was that you? Did you always find the most?
I can't say I always found the most. Now my husband, we call him the shark tooth whisperer. And so if I find 30, he finds 50. If I find 50, he finds 100. It's always been that way. So I guess he just has a little bit better eyes than I do.
Yeah, I always love a friendly competition. If you've heard any episodes with my husband and I, you know, we had a competition, even with a marriage counselor, we had a competition. Now, for some reason, he can't seem to find any shark's teeth. And, you know, I'll tell you a little story here that's interesting. In high school, my girlfriend would find shark's teeth, and she would say every time she found a shark tooth, she was going to find a boyfriend to date. So it was something she did. She would walk along Jacksonville Beach, she'd find a shark's tooth, and she'd say, oh, I'm going to meet a boy. And so she associated shark's teeth with boys. You know, I'm sure she's married now. She just collects shark's teeth for
That's
the heck of it.
funny.
So yeah. Now, it's not easy. And when I think about how long you've been doing this, and then, everything else that you've done in your career, when did you decide that, you should do a tour?
Well, it kind of happened organically. I was working for Baptist MD Anderson Cancer Center, and we moved here. I started the triage department there, kind of helped develop it and everything. And before I became a nurse, I considered mortuary science. I considered teaching. I considered a whole plethora of things before that. But it ended up being cancer nursing. I started out in neuro nursing. It ended up being cancer nursing. And just biology fascinates me. And so learning about cancer and what causes cancer brought me to the point where I wanted to educate people, because besides being genetics, a lot of it genetics, there's the environmental pollutions and the biological pollutions and all the things that we put into our body. But a big thing is microplastics, and microplastics melting down into our environment, and they never disappear. And so I was like, how can I incorporate, because I love the fossils and the fossil hunting too. I started to do a lot of research about the species on the island and why you find so many shark's teeth here and where are other places you can find shark's teeth. And so it was kind of like a learning experience for me. I learned a bunch of things that I didn't know, and I just started writing things down.
Wow.
And then, so I just kind of developed a presentation from there, because it was all so fascinating for me. You can find shark's teeth anywhere in Florida, especially a place called the Bone Valley. Have you ever heard of the Bone Valley?
No, I was about to say, can you share with us? You don't have to give your whole tour away, because
No,
I know there are some things you want to leave for those people that they need sort of a visual for. But if you could just tell us, yeah, I am fascinated. I had one child that even started a shark club at school at one point, super into sharks, and we went way beyond your typical sharks. We went into the, what is it, 6 gills or 8 gills bottom feeder shark with the green eyes, or whatever that is. So where is this place? The Bone Yard? Is that what you call it?
It's called the Bone Valley, and it's in Florida, and it starts about Gainesville, and it moves all the way down around the Venice Beach area. It includes the Peace River, and it's just where you can find, the earth is so rich in fossils. And they actually dig phosphate pits down there, and they dig it all up and they crush the phosphate and they put it on rail cars and move it, because they put phosphate in just about everything, and they overfill the cars. And if you look on my Facebook page, you can see my husband and I sifting for shark's teeth on the side of the railroad tracks down there. A place called Mulberry, Florida. They actually have a phosphate museum there where you can go and see a lot of dinosaur bones and stuff like that they dug up. And you can actually, they overfill the rail cars. The rail car moves along, and every time it turns a corner, some spills off. So you can actually sift for the teeth on the side of the railroad tracks down in Mulberry and around that area.
Now, have you found the megalodon teeth in that area?
We have found megalodon teeth. I have a few that I do my exhibit with, because I do an exhibit and a presentation on my tour. I do a poster presentation, and then it's a hands-on. Everybody can touch things, and we have found megalodon teeth from the phosphate pits, and you can find them in the Peace River. You can find them in old riverbeds and stuff in Gainesville, where the Bone Valley starts. You can find them down in Venice Beach. Venice calls itself the shark tooth capital of the world, but I find more here than I ever found at Venice. So, and I know that's
you're meaning Fort Clinch or Jacksonville?
Fort Clinch, and that's because they have a natural, or not a natural, but they have a dredge there, and the dredge comes through, and makes room for the submarines and the boats to come in and out of Kings Bay. And they take that dredge and they blow it back in so it builds up the beach. It's a natural way of restoring the beach every year. And so when they do that, it breaks all of those sharks' teeth and bones and other fossils loose. So they are all blown back up. Then the tide comes in and it kind of washes them back down. And so when the tide comes in and out is a good time to go looking for those fossils.
Oh, wow. Are there certain times a year they do the dredging or?
They just got finished dredging on the north end. And I don't know. I think they do different sections at different times, but usually once a year or so, they'll come through and do a section.
All right. Well, okay. So I don't know if you know this, but we did interview someone who homeschools. So I imagine you've had a lot of homeschoolers come through your tour. Do you see that?
I've had a lot of kids in general, but you know what? I find the adults like it as much as the children do. They become like little kids when they're out there. I have to tell this story because it's so funny. My first clients were two retired zoologists from Ohio, and they were really good friends, and they were two ladies, and I think they were probably in their 70s or something, and they picked it up quickly, and they were literally shoving each other, pushing each other down, giving each other hip bumps to try to grab the teeth. So it was really fun to watch that. Now I tell everybody, you have to share. You have to let everybody find some. If you pick it up quick, you still have to share.
Well, it is kind of like an Easter egg hunt. And it is one of those things that, the larger tooth that you find, and, everybody has the ones that they like the best. I always kind of like those very kind of sharp, skinny ones. Are those tiger?
Well, there's a few
Yeah.
There's a few different sharks that have the long, skinny version. And lemon sharks have them. All sharks have different teeth on the top and different teeth on the bottom, too. So you have to kind of look up your charts and go in there and identify them that way. There's two books that I recommend on my tour to take, and they're very they have very good pictures, and do a good job of explaining. But yeah, there's a few sharks that have the long, skinny version, and you have to they have like little identifying factors on them. You have to look them up.
Okay. And then what are the most common shark's teeth? Like on your tour, you would say, okay, in all the tours that I've been giving, which, my gosh, are you counting the number of tours that you've given? How many tours are you up to now?
You know what? I haven't even counted how many tours, but it's been a lot. Okay. But mostly what you find here are the sharks who are indigenous to here. I mean, we find a lot of bull shark, a lot of lemon, threshers. You find great whites. You find a lot of mako teeth. I have a chart that I use to show people there's over 510 species of sharks, so they don't all fit on one poster, but I've chosen a poster that shows like the real scale size of a man to like a whale shark and a basking shark, just so people can see the size. And I talk a lot about the interesting facts. Sharks can regurgitate their own stomachs. They have to continually swim. There's only two species that can stop to sleep. Sharks continually lose their teeth and grow new teeth. So one shark could have 30,000 teeth in a lifetime, and that's why you find so many.
I had no idea. 30,000?
Yes.
Okay, that's a super interesting fact. 30,000.
They're always new teeth, and they're always losing old ones.
So were the megalodon like that too? Is the theory that they lost teeth at the same rate as the sharks do today, or
You know,
nobody knows?
no, I don't think that we can put a trigger on that, but I think that they probably did. And those teeth, though, are going to be buried deeper, and it's going to take more to pull them up. And you find a lot of teeth like that down around the Peace River area. You can go on the Peace River and see where the river makes a buildup of like rock and solid things. And you can dig through those piles and find them. You see a lot of people using a sifter out here at Fort Clench, and I'm never going to say there's a wrong way to look, but I find more at Fort Clench just laying on top. And I use what's called a 5S rule. So you have to kind of train your brain and look at the ones you have. The only reason I'm good at it is because I've been doing it for 50 years. I've looked at them. I've studied them. I look up what kind of sharks they come from. And I use that 5S rule, and it's shine, shape, symmetry, serration, and smoothness. I'm looking for shine and shape first when I'm walking along. A lot of people don't realize, too, that the color of teeth doesn't come from the age. A lot of people think the color comes from the age of the tooth, but it really doesn't. It comes from the sediment and minerals that they start to absorb when they start to fossilize. So their teeth are made out of calcium phosphate, just like ours. So when it lands in something, it starts to absorb that. And if it gets moved, it starts to absorb something else. So I actually have teeth that have like lines in them from absorbing different things.
Oh, wow. I don't think I've seen that. I'd love to see a picture of that, because most of the ones that I think I've found, I guess, are the black ones the most common, because those are the ones that I think I tend to be able to find. And then I've never found a tooth that had different colors. Like I either found something that was, kind of white or cream, or something that was really dark black. The other thing that I was told by my friend who looked for shark's teeth for dates, because I was doing the same thing right beside her, but not having a lot of luck, was she told me that her trick was to look for something on the ground that was really dark and very, very like pointed. Like, other fragments of shells kind of have a round edge to them.
That would be the symmetry part. That's the S, that's the symmetry. Because many or a lot of the teeth look very symmetrical. Even if there's a piece broken off, it's going to look very defined. It's going to look very symmetrical. So that's part of one of the S rules, yes. But there's all different kinds of colors. People start identifying black at first, but there's grays, there's tans, there's all different colors. And sometimes you'll even find the fresh white ones. Not very often here. It's most of the time the fossilized, but there's many different colors. So that's why I tell people to use the 5S rule. And as far as the megalodon teeth, we probably average 1 or 2 a year. And that's because they're just not going to be up there laying around most of the time. It's, it's going to have to be where the dredge was dug a little bit bigger, and it's going to come up in a big storm, something that's going to roll the ocean around a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if anybody has ever gone to, I'm sure you've gone through Gainesville and gone to their museum there, where you can actually stand inside of a megalodon jaw.
Absolutely.
Gives you scale.
I have a picture of myself. I have a picture of myself in that jaw.
Yeah, and it's really hard to imagine until you go to that museum or you see a little person. I mean, I like the idea that you have a visual of a human being, and then just the scale and size of a megalodon, a great white. I forget how many great whites can fit in a megalodon. I don't know. Is that 2 or like two lengthwise. I'm pretty sure, because that megalodon mouth, when you're in that museum in Gainesville, it really just blows your mind. And I remember when my son was really into shark's teeth, I was like, oh, I have to get a picture of him understanding the scale compared to, you know, how little he was at the time. So really kind of blown his mind. Now, of course, Jacksonville has had, you know, we have been on kind of a shark week. Did you know we had like the little shark people? They had their little shark boat downtown where, you know, they actually tag great whites. There was an app where they were following, what was her name? Catherine?
That is actually O-Search, and they are opening, and I'm excited for it, a
Ooh.
place over on the Mayport side. And they tag the great whites, and that's through UNF, University of North Florida. Swoop, my daughter's an alumni.
Oh, yay.
And they actually tag the great white sharks. And they do have an app that you can go to on your phone too. And you can watch all these sharks that they tag go up and down the coast and find out where they are at different times. And yes, that's very, very exciting. And I do have a few megalodons that I want people to hold when they come out, just to feel the sheer heaviness of those teeth. Like you said, that jaw, it encompasses your whole body when you stand in it. The one in the museum in Gainesville. And when you feel the heaviness of that tooth, it's just like, wow, can you imagine a shark with a mouth full of those teeth?
Oh my gosh. Well, and I mean, it was so large, it could swallow boats. I mean, if boats existed back then, it would have just kind of swallowed a canoe, swallowed a boat. That's just part of its regular meal. Now, you know, having the shark tags in town and seeing your hometown on Shark Week, when you have young children that were like heading out into the ocean, was really like, I mean, I'm the generation of Jaws, so it was really kind of like terrifying. But at the same point, you know, I had to let go, and I had to say to myself, well, you know, my son does love sharks, and if maybe his destiny is to have an interaction with a shark, good or bad or whatever, you know, that is maybe what God intended. I'm here to, you know, I was ready, you know, in the water to maybe, you know, punch a shark in the eye to get my child back if I had to. I mean, just being a mama bear, right? I'm going to get that back. But yeah, I am part of the Jaws generation where, you know, we realized there was something in the water. Yeah, there's something in the water that, you know, is an animal that's pretty large. So we have all gone back in the water since we watched the movie, but at first, I remember that first time trying to go back and just saying to myself, no, it's going to be fine. I'm probably not the tasty treat that the great white is going after. So I don't know, having that app on my phone. Well, you know, having that app on my phone. Do you have the app on your phone?
No,
Okay.
I don't have that. I really, living in Florida my whole life is just something that we've had to live with. And whether you know it or not, when you're in the ocean, there's probably a shark 15 feet from you, wherever you are. They don't want to eat us. And what I tell people, usually when someone gets bit, it's because it's a junior or it's a shark that doesn't know what it's doing yet. Or it's very hungry, sick, or something is wrong like that. But I tell people too, which a lot of people make this mistake, don't wear your shinies in the ocean. Take all your jewelry off. Wear earth tone colors. If you wear the shimmery bathing suit that's got all the little sparkles on it, that's going to look like fish scales. So you might get an accidental bite that way. But sharks don't want to eat us. And believe me, when you go on the ocean, the sharks are there. But it's their house, so we have to kind of respect that, you know.
That's right. That's right. It's their house. And you know, it's funny because bathing suit manufacturers and boogie board manufacturers. I remember one time I bought a boogie board that had a shark on it, and I thought, well, maybe it would just be like, hello. I'm not gonna take a bite out of this boogie board because it didn't look like a seal. It actually looked kind of like another shark, and I thought that was interesting. But the bathing suits in Florida tend to be flashy. It's amazing to me that when people come to Florida, they wear jewelry into the ocean as if they have not heard about shiny objects in the ocean. If you go into the Florida Keys and you do your shining objects, those barracudas are there and are even faster. I want to say faster than sharks. I mean, they're known to kind of be near where people are snorkeling. So yeah, a couple of tips and let's just say good decision making when coming to Florida is that, you're in the ocean with sharks. Don't wear anything shiny. And then, check your boogie boards so that they don't look like little seals. Because if you've watched Shark Week enough, some of the little prototypes that they throw out there to get the sharks coming up with those dramatic shark things. Just so everyone knows who is not from Florida, because we do have some international listeners and so forth. Our sharks don't tend to jump. Have you ever seen any sharks jump the way they jump?
Yes, ma'am. The first year I ever lived here, I saw a shark jump. It doesn't happen very often, but yes, we did see a shark come right out of the water and go right back in. And I was just fascinated by that.
Wow. Well, that is a rare sighting. But of course, if you do enough tours, you are going to see everything. So besides those 70-year-olds fighting over shark's teeth, any other interesting stories, or have you had any maybe perhaps famous visitors? We do get quite a lot of famous visitors with, TPC and
I haven't had famous visitors yet, just families. At least I didn't know they were famous if they were. Everyone seems to come and just want to have a good time. And, another thing I say on my tour, another fascinating thing about the sharks is that they have very large livers. And sharks are known to rarely ever get cancers or tumors. And so I was really fascinated with that. And there's a lot of research going on. But I use the opportunity and I do this tour. I don't make a lot of money doing it. I do it to support 4Ocean, who helps keep plastics out of the ocean. I support the Sea Turtle Conservancy, places like that. And I use it as an opportunity to educate people about keeping their fishing line, keeping their trash, picking up trash if you see it, because all of those things matter. Sharks are the garbage cans of the ocean, I tell people. And so they kind of help keep the other populations down. They keep the sick fish away and keep the ocean cleaner. So we really need to start taking care of them. There's a lot of sea life that helps us survive. If you look at like horseshoe crabs and things like that, I talk about that on the tour too. So there's a lot of facts about them. Their blood is used to check the sterility of surgical equipment.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So, and there's a lot of science-based facts that I go over on my tour that teaches people about that. So I do it to create awareness to try to keep our oceans clean.
Well, and the sheer passion of teaching and sharing the knowledge about something that you are interested in. I'm with you. I'm always trying to learn something new. I'm always trying to learn something from people. And it was hard for me to walk away from you that day when you had, all of your things out there. And I was looking at all of your variety of shark's teeth. And, kudos to you for creating the tour and then giving back. And giving back to so many organizations and just kind of spreading the word. I would have to say that I think, Fort Clinch and all of the people who manage that area, it always seems very pristine to me. I don't really see a lot of trash. I have traveled internationally, we've been to Italy a couple of times, and I don't know if you've been there or not, but there are a couple of beaches along the Mediterranean that, they literally have, rakes that people rake up every day. And so, we certainly don't want to see that be our experience here, and all around all of our coastlines and coastlines around the world. So kudos to you. The other thing I thought about that I didn't know whether you experienced this or not, especially with just being a nurse, being in healthcare, thinking about the well-being of people. But there is something to me very therapeutic about walking on the beach and sort of, I wouldn't say having a purpose, but, looking for shells, looking for shark's teeth, just kind of taking that moment, being very present. Obviously, not having your phone out. We talk a lot about if you can take a moment from technology, be present in nature, that'd be awesome. So have you had any sort of therapeutic tours, or have you had anybody sort of say, hey, thank you for giving me this skill now from this tour that, I found it so peaceful that I'm going to return, I'm going to come back to Florida or other coastlines, and this is going to be a part of like therapy.
I have gotten such a good response, and everyone seems to love it. They say they have a lot of fun. I have people that go to other places and send me pictures of what they found. I had a teacher once come, and he came on the tour, and he went to the Carolinas after here, and he found like 300 teeth and sent me pictures. And there is a lot to be said for it. That's why I live here. There have actually been studies done of people who spend time more at the beach, stating that they're healthier, they're in better physical condition, they have a lot less stress. So there's a lot to be said for it.
Absolutely.
I can't think of the name of the studies offhand, but you could probably Google it. And yes, there's a lot to be said for spending that time out there, just reflecting. When I go, I don't even look anymore because it's all about training your brain when you go. So once your brain is trained, when you go out there, your brain's going to say, there's one, there's one, there's one. So I can just reflect on things happening in my life and walk out there, and I'm still finding teeth, but I'm working out my problems and doing that sort of thing.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and so 14 years ago, you created this tour, and, you just keep it going. Do you have like a legacy? Do you need more people? Is there any sort of ask out there to any of our listeners, other than, hey, come join the tour, get this skill. You'll have this skill for life, have a great experience. But are you looking for any volunteers or looking to meet up with anyone else?
Well, I think my success for this business has been that I've kept it small. I never take more than 6 people on a tour. If I take 8, it's because they're all the same family. And there's a reason for that. I want everyone to find teeth. I want everybody to enjoy the experience. If I take 20 people out there at a time, they're not going to enjoy the experience. They're not going to find teeth. And when I started doing this, my whole reason was to teach people and to get them to, if I can get one person from each tour to pick up trash on the beach or pick up a piece of fishing line or something like that, it's going to be beneficial. So I think my success is that I keep it small. Now, I have had a couple of teens reach out when they're here in the summer that want to do like a internship sort of thing, and I have taken them up on that. I've had a couple of kids that will come out and help me hold the posters and clean the exhibit things and walk with us. And I think it's beneficial in all those ways you talked about,
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm glad that you've gotten some volunteers because, I think what you're doing is so fascinating that I was like, I'm sure there's only one of you, and at times, there's only so many tours you can take people on in a day, even being retired and everything. So, and I met your husband who was not retired. Is that correct?
That's right, Sean. He's counting the days. He retires July the 7th. So
Okay. So will he be helping you after his retirement?
he does, and he helps me a lot. If I take a weekend tour or something, he comes out and helps. He's a plethora of knowledge too. The scientific facts just roll around in his head, and he can spew them out at any time when looking at this or that. And I'm grateful for that. My kids get that from him. They don't get it from me. I have to really be passionate about something to memorize all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think that is a talent that our husbands share is they can somehow hold a lot of facts about a lot of things versus I narrow my facts to the things that I am super passionate about. So just kind of thinking back, if someone I really want to say where I think that you can help some of our listeners when I think about decisions, right? If you are passionate and you have a mission, what are some of your key decisions you think people should make? And when they're thinking about maybe creating a tour of their own or doing something that gives back to the community. I think you've done all of that.
well, I think just being passionate about it helps. And then if you're going to do something that's going to help the community, look for people that can help you. Like I said, I don't have, I do this by myself. And like you said, I don't have a lot of volunteers or anything, but I encourage people to donate to 4Ocean, to donate to O-Search or volunteer with them, organize your own beach cleanup, do things like that. I'm always passing the buck, telling people, reach out to this organization, reach out to that organization, do your research, find out who's in your area, talk to people, talk to people the most. Find out what their concerns are for the area. Find out the knowledge that they know. What can they teach you? Someone can always teach you something. I learn something new still every day.
Well, I think that's a key lesson. You keep on learning, and you keep on learning after retirement. You learn outside of work. You learn outside of school. So I think the last thing that I want to make sure that I make sure everybody leaves here with are, let's talk about just key things that you want them to know about sharks and shark teeth. Just give us a little hint. Don't give away your whole tour.
Well, I tell everybody because everyone comes out there and wants to find the big one, right? And I'm not saying you won't find the big one, but my motto is I love them all, big or small. And then you have to understand that the ocean's going to give you what it's going to give you that day, and that's it. Sometimes I go out there and I find 3, and that's it. And some days I go out there and find 300. So, I mean, it all depends on the tides and the movement of the ocean, how much turbulence you have. And looking at the teeth to me is still just fascinating. I take the ones I find, I take them out frequently. I look at them. That trains your brain. Look up what kind of sharks they come from. A really interesting fact that a lot of people don't know is when you hold a shark's tooth in your hand, and it's one of the flat ones, say a great white, a mako, a megalodon. They think that the curved part is the outer part of the tooth, and it really isn't. It's the inside of the tooth. So the flat part that everyone thinks is the back is actually the front. So,
Really?
yes. And the reason they have
Wow.
that,
That little sort of lip, I want to say, not lip. What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah,
The
it's
root,
the curve. You think it's the gum part, right? But you're
the
saying the
root
whole,
is the gum part, but
yeah,
down on the shiny part, one side looks very flat. A lot of people think that's the back of the tooth. It's not. That's the front of the tooth. And that's so when the shark bites something, the teeth dig in this like uh like a gripper. And so
yeah, yeah.
that way it can't get away. It's uh
Wow.
like a crane backward.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't think about it that way, and that's crazy because I swear I must have read 1,000 shark books and heard 1,000 shark facts from my son, and it never ends. You can always learn more. Are you still discovering things about sharks?
I do every day. I discover different things every day. I watch all the shows. I absolutely love them. Um, I love all the facts about them. A lot of people didn't know sharks can regurgitate their stomachs. So they can eat something, and something that they eat irritates them, and they can keep in the good stuff and shoot their stomach out and get rid of whatever's irritating them.
Wow. Huh.
Some sharks emit a biofluorescent light in the deep, dark ocean. I mean, there's just so many things.
Well, I mean, they are prehistoric. When I think of sharks, it's like sharks and alligators. I mean, Florida has them both. And these are the prehistoric creatures, really, eating machines, if you will. And so, you need to respect that they've lasted a very, very long time. Maybe a mosquito has also lasted since the prehistoric days. But yeah, when I think about sort of these old school animals that you can trace back, and when you see them in person in a tank, or maybe somewhere safe where you see them swimming around, when you look at them, you just get that really like years of efficiency, years of
Yes, I have a
just,
high respect for them.
yes, absolutely. They have lived through it all, and and they just have become so efficient, yet terrifying. I mean, it is somewhat fun to be scared of them. I mean, there's a healthy, safe scare of them. Doesn't stop me from going into the water. Just stops me from wearing something shiny like a big sign that says, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, here I'm wearing." Now, is yummy yellow a thing? I had to put that out there.
You know, I really, I don't know about that. I know they hunt by electroreception. They have sensors on the end of their tips of their noses, and they can detect a heartbeat, a movement, any form of electrical activity like that. And so they come after that because I don't think their eyesight is very good. But then they're going to see the shimmery stuff you're wearing. They might mistake you for something. So, uh, they say be very still in an area if a shark's there or if you know a shark's there, because they use that electroreception to guide them toward whatever they're looking for.
Now, I would
Like I said, they
find
don't
that
want to eat
very
us.
hard.
We don't taste
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
They spit us back
Now,
out usually.
now there's a decision. Okay, so okay, here's the decision. Kim, you're in the water with me, and we're standing in the water, and here comes a shark. Are you going to stand still while I like run on top of the water? What's happening there? Are
Well,
you
it
are you going to
depends.
test that theory?
It's going to depend on the size of the shark. A smaller shark, I'm just going to take my hand and put it over his nose because that's going to mess up his electroreception and I'm going to be able to guide him away. But I wouldn't recommend that for children or anyone else. You're going to walk slowly and quietly backwards out of the water. Try to get out as soon as you can, but don't panic because that's going to make it worse. Their
Yeah.
sugar is going to go up with all your adrenaline.
Oh man. Oh man. Well, I could tell you I've been on the mountain biking trail. I've seen a snake, and And I'm able to pedal awfully fast when I see a snake. I imagine I could walk on water if I saw an alligator or a shark in the water. So,
And you have to remember too, a lot of sharks, especially the bigger ones that can hurt us. I mean, they can all take a bite, but certainly to kill somebody or eat somebody, usually those sharks are in the deep, dark ocean, respect your boundaries. If you want to go in the ocean, go to your knees. And there's still going to be
yeah.
there, but there's usually not going to be giant sharks there waiting to eat you.
Well, it's really kind of funny because we were in the Mediterranean, and again, this was earlier in my life where we were in Italy in our 20s, and we were there with another couple, and we had rented some little catamarans, just little sailboats, little small little catamarans. We took them out into the Mediterranean, and at some point, our little sailboat, we lost the wind, so we were having a hard time sort of getting back to the beach, and we were out there in the Mediterranean deep enough that it was the dark, it was no longer see-through to the bottom. It was fairly dark. Well, I'm in my 20s, and even though I did see the movie Jaws, for some reason the Mediterranean didn't feel like the same ocean. I don't know why. But I was just putting my, head over the sailboat and just, putting my hair in the water, feeling, oh, look at us, we're in the Mediterranean and it's Italy. Well, when we returned back from our vacation, it was Shark Week.
Yes.
And during Shark Week, they talked about how many active great whites were in the Mediterranean, literally the time that we were there. So I don't know, one might have just passed by and said, "Oh, too easy." Like what is she doing? What is that little, we're going to let that 20-year-old pass on by. Yeah, we're too busy. There's too many.
They really just don't want to eat us. We don't taste good to them. They'd rather have a seal or a fish. I mean, you can watch some of the videos and you see those great whites that come right up on the shore on some of those islands where there's seals and stuff, and they shimmy their way back into the water. And that was terrifying to me when I first looked at it. And I'd be walking down the beach and I'd be looking over my shoulder, Is one of those going to come out of the water and get me? But now that I'm older and I have more sense and I know a lot more about them, I know that that's not going to happen here,
Yeah. You and I are like, nope, I'm just going to tap you on the nose. So, okay. Well, please tell everybody your website and tell everybody generally when your tours are offered so that everyone can learn these skills and have you teach them even more than what we learned today.
Well, my website is AmeliaSharktoothAdventures.com. It's all one word, AmeliaSharktoothAdventures.com. And I just posted my spring calendar, so it'll be another week or two before I have the summer calendar up. But tours usually run on the tide, most of the time the low tide. So book while you can because it usually fills up pretty quickly.
And do you have any teenager volunteers this year?
I do have one girl who's called me, but I guess she'll be here in the summertime. So I'll wait for her to tell me when she gets here. But right now it's just me.
Okay. So you heard her. It is just her. She's a wealth of knowledge. If you are interested in this tour, you need to book and book quickly because they're small, intimate tours, and they're at specific times, and you're going to learn so much. So I just want to thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you that day. I know I'm going to see you out there. We mountain bike out there multiple times, so I'm sure I'll see you out there. Hopefully, I will see some of my listeners who have booked your tour. And I just want to say that you've made some awesome decisions. The community thanks you for everything that you're giving back. Also, thank you just for, being a cancer nurse as well. I don't know that we talk too much about that, but that in itself, you are just Nurses are just natural givers. And so just knowing you from that alone is just really inspiring. Thank you so much.
Well, I
All your
appreciate
service.
you having me. And I just ask everybody, keep the beaches clean. If you see something, pick it up. I appreciate it. You're serving your children, your children's children, and futures to come, and all the species when you're being aware of that. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'm just going to also talk about our website real quick, decisiondiaries.com. We're going to have some pictures of Kim. We're going to have a connection to her website as well. And then, of course, we'd love to see pictures of you going on the tour with Kim. And please become a member of Decision Diaries, and you'll get access to all these things. Thank you so much again.
Decision Diaries.